Well, hello and welcome to a Monday Daily Dominion. In the normal fashion for Mondays, we have just one single expansion, which used to be two in this case, paired with the base expansion. And here we have cornucopia and guilds lining up for a strong kingdom, but unfortunately that part of why it's strong is because there is a strong attack that you cannot really work around here, and that is Witch from the base game. Apart from that, we have other strong 5-cost cards like Joust and to a lesser extent also Festival and Laboratory. We have Moneylender to thin your coppers and Farmhands to mitigate terminal collision, because if you manage to buy a Farmhands on a turn where you draw some of your actions dead, for example, after playing a Smithy, you can just set one of them aside and then play it at the start of the next turn. And that is a very strong ability, apart from Farmhands being a fine village as is. Workshops might come in later to pick some of those up, and maybe also some smithies. Shop is something that allows you to, I don't know, pedal, I guess. And by that I mean that you have +1 card, +1 coin, and +1 action, but only if you don't have any of the actions you want to play already in play, because otherwise you cannot play them. Now, why do I say Joust is so strong? Well, if you manage to collide it with a province, apart from that it's just a normal peddler, if you manage to collide it with a province from your hand, then you can choose between these 6 rewards. I was about to say prizes, but that's for the tournament, which Joust replaced. And yeah, renown and domain especially, and also in this one probably courser for just for some deck control, are amazing things to get. But given that there's witch and no curse and estate thinning, it might be hard to line up Joust and Province. It might be hard to even get to 8 for Province early on. So we'll see how this one goes. And what else is there? I guess you can go for a proper engine here, with Farmhand, Smithy, and Workshop being cheap engine components, Laboratory and Witch, and I guess the rewards from Joust as some glue. You do want to play Witch early and often, and you get to do that by, well, if you manage to have the 5-2, you open Witch. If you do not, you open something that works towards Witch. And in general, before we get to the openings, let's have a brief look at the kingdom plot. It reflects what I said, I guess. Although the thinning itself, I mean, Moneylender is a card where I wasn't sure where to place it on the 1 to or 0 to 3 thinning evaluation, I guess. I could see it as just a 1, but also on the other hand, you get to thin out 7 cards from your starting deck with a single Moneylender, so I think I put it at 2, and that's why the kingdom plot is at 2 here. But really, in this kingdom, thinning is quite hard to come by. And that brings us to the openings. Back to those that I already mentioned somewhat, in that for the 5-2, yeah, it's just witch nothing, and you are actually pretty happy about this. You just want to get those curses out as early as possible. On the 4-3, you do everything to trying to hit 5 early and often, and you get to do this by opening Moneylender Shop or Moneylender Silver. They both have their merits and their downsides. With Shop, you cycle one more card during the early shuffle and are likely to also find a copper, making it essentially worth almost the same as silver. With silver, you are less prone to draw dead with Witch, and silver might be a nice thing, therefore, to have also to hit 4 for Farmhands in case of terminal collision. So yeah, I can really see both. I think we're going with the shop, but I'm not completely convinced that it's a better thing to do over silver. There are these and those draws. You don't want to open workshop, by the way, probably just because it doesn't allow you to hit 5 early on. Although I can also see it. It does have the fail case of colliding with the Moneylender. Yeah, given like the presence of Farmhands and Smithy, you might want to go for an early workshop, but even more on your priority list is Witch. And yeah, here, actually Harbinger, while usually also being a weak card, might even be a consideration here. Although in this case, yeah, I don't know, we still don't have that thick deck, but it could later on help you to see your valuable cards like Witch more often than not. And I'm just noticing that AI only played 2 copper on its turn 3 hand, which means that it's almost guaranteed. I think it's guaranteed to hit 5 for Witch on the next turn, but it might trigger this really bad shuffle with the Smithy. So let's see what it will draw. And we will go for, I guess a workshop is fine. Saying, and yeah, it played the Smithy, shuffled its deck, and then bought the Witch, but it also reshuffled the deck again. Here, we probably just go for a Smithy, and next turn, unfortunately, our Witch bottom decks, so next turn we would really like to hit that, and I think it's worth setting aside a copper here to forego buying anything, just because that will keep the copper out of the shuffle. And I could be wrong on this, but I think it's a nice thing to do, and especially now that copper saved our bums as we get to buy another Farmhands and get to set aside a, I guess, shop or Moneylender. We do have a Smithy in there, so yeah, we just want to draw back to the Witch, and then we might even draw back to the Moneylender, so let's set aside the shop. Just to really make sure we find the Smithy here. And if we had set aside the Moneylender, then we might have been rather sad, as we would not have found it. And is there anything we want to put in this shuffle? Probably another Smithy, actually. We have the luxury of having an extra action here. And this means that we have Farmhands and Smithy in this shuffle, and we'll hopefully hit 4 here. Yeah, we do. And now we have some coppers down there, so the Moneylender gets some use, and we top decked Smithy Farmhands. And very nice. So these early draws are rather fortunate. And now we have an interesting decision here. We hit 8 rather early, given the state of our decks. The curses haven't been flung that much. So we have given out 2, AI has given out 1 curse. We are very likely to be cursed on the next turn. Might even have been that AI's Witch kind of bottom decked or missed one shuffle, because it's a bit weird that we have only been cursed once so far. And we could hit Province here for Joust, and I can see that being correct, although I can also see a second Witch being correct, just to really get ahead on this cursing. And I think... Ooh, this is rough. I think, sorry, we did want to get that Witch there. And we do have, sorry, Farmhands down there, so for sure we just want to set aside either a Smithy or a Witch. And let's just draw as far as possible on the next turn. We will see both of the Witches during a shuffle. Yeah, that workshop has done a lot of work, but that was a rough draw. And we get to go for some Farmhands, some more Farmhands, some more Smithy, even some more Farmhands. Do we find the other Witch? Yes, we do. Amazing. We could think about setting it aside, but I think it's better to just draw through here. And now, again, we do have the chance of going for province. And given that we have added quite some nice smithies and farmhands into the deck, I feel like it's fine. It could also just be a Joust for now. Might be a bit safer than next turn. If we draw again, we hit... But it's easier to hit 5 than 8. So let's go for a province here. Get another curse into our deck, but already we've given out, I believe, 5 curses. So if we manage to draw the other witch here, which we don't, we would have been able to curse AI once again. And I think here it's better to just buy a farmhands and set aside something by playing the Moneylender and draw and trashing another copper than anything else. Although I could be, yeah, no, I think this is the correct way to go. We guarantee that we have a super nice turn this turn. And yeah, that province now looks a bit sad. Might have wanted to be a Joust. But anyways, if we draw here, we will win the curse split, and I should have done a different order with the shop there for sure. But if everything goes well, we might even be able to set aside something nice. Last card is the Moneylender. That's a bit unfortunate actually. How about we do need to buy a Joust this turn, so there's no way around that. We need to payload also because now we're like slowly we have thinned out most of our coppers. If we don't buy this Joust now, we might be in a bit of trouble. Just wondering what we should get with this workshop. And I think it might just be a workshop actually. And no, wouldn't be able to play it. So in that case, either a Smithy or a Farmhands. And given our deck composition, the Farmhands might be better. We can set aside a copper then to miss the shuffle. And then we'll still have 1, 2 plus, yeah, okay. Just making sure that we even hit 5 here. And that means that, well, we might have a dud coming up. Okay, we do have a dud coming up. Do we even play the Smithy? I think we do, even though we will probably just draw some farmhands and oh, that hurts. Not even 4 for another farmhands. Yeah, that was really, really unfortunate. But I guess this is what you get in such a junky game, whereas AI seems to have a nice hand here, gets to top deck something nice, a Smithy, but it doesn't hit 8, and that's quite a good thing to happen. I wonder whether we stop here. Like, we saw a lot of our draw, and it would be really sad to just go through lots of farmhands now and not get anything done. I wonder whether we just go for another farmhands here, set this one aside, and have one extra card at the start of our next turn. But I don't think this makes sense. I think it makes sense to, yeah, to just draw through here. We need to be a bit careful about piles emptying, because there are only 4 smithies and 3 farmhands left. But on the other hand, we do have quite the, like, look at all those farmhands bottom decking. Do we even draw into this shuffle? I think the correct, as much as it hurts to just forego doing anything productive this turn, I think we do need to put those 4 farmhands back into this shuffle. It really, really hurts. Because otherwise we have, what, 2 farmhands in there? 2 workshops. Yeah, we have way too many terminals that we cannot handle. So we need to end our buys here and just be sad, cry in the corner. But on the other hand, on the plus side, AI also has awful turns there, and we are somewhat rewarded with a nice, at least, start of this turn. Do we get to connect Province and Joust? Hello? I guess no, we can guarantee the connection of Province and Joust just on the next turn, not gamble, just say, okay, next turn we're guaranteed to have the Province in there, and thus we can just calmly add another workshop. And I guess we had the chance of drawing the Moneylender, but apart from that, we were guaranteed to find it. But then also the Joust was the only card we could have even revealed it with. So we would have needed to draw it off the top. And now the question is, what do we want to add with that? Is it just a renown? Are we greedy and say, okay, if we play the renown, we might be able to finish the game just this turn? Or does it want to be a domain, which is also worth a bit of coins? And I guess if we're really concerned about drawing, we could also add a housecarl or a courser. A housecarl is certainly better. I think I like the domain actually. Seeing also this hand with 2 smithies, even though we will have 3 actions. I like adding a bit of payload. We might not finish this turn then, but we will have a good time drawing here, and this already means that we will be able to, well, draw the gold and also maybe finish the game. No, not quite, right? Here we, I guess, go for another farmhand, setting aside a farmhands for next turn. Then we play the witch, and that other workshop can set aside another farmhands, and we have 4, 2, 3 plus 3. Yeah, we have enough for sorry, for another province, and we should be on the safe side given the state of AI's deck, and we should be well set up for next turn. So there we go. It's, I don't know, it's not the greatest of plays, I guess, but now we only need to find 2 workshops to grab those smithies, and we should be golden. Now let's hope that we do find other stuff apart from the Joust, because we really would like to pair it up with the Province for some style points, and we managed to do this, even though I think I bungled this a bit by playing it a bit early. We should have had more information, playing more of our draw cards first, but yeah, now we are finally at a somewhat nice deck state. You can even play the renown again, gain and play another Joust, and probably we put in another Smithy in there, or yeah, I think that guarantees us drawing all this stuff, and yeah, get to play one more Joust for even more money. I think Huge Turnip is 4 money. The Colony would have been only 3 money, being able to double play this gold. So we thin out the last copper, play the Huge Turnip, buy the last Smithy and some provinces, and say, well, thanks to the shuffle gods that we were able to have somewhat nice early game shuffles, and were able to win this curse split 4-6, or yeah, I guess 6-4, how do you say it? But one of the main differences, I guess, was that AI skipped Moneylender as is usual. It tends to do that. And if we look at the early draws, Okay, yeah, I had this hand where it drew the shop and the smithy, and I think on turn 4, actually what it should have done is play the shop and then decline playing the smithy, just to not shuffle before putting in the witch, because this essentially meant that it had top decked, well, some estates, some copper, and it would have, like with the shop, one money from the shop and 4 coppers it would have in sand, it would have been able to buy the witch and have a clean shuffle again. Now, I don't think it's like such a big deal, but it is a small slowdown, and with witch stuff, you just want to get the curses into your opponent's deck as early as possible. It then hit 5 again, buying this festival. I'm also not a huge fan of festivals here, just because it doesn't draw you cards. And let's see what else it did then. I didn't follow it all too closely, but yeah, I guess then also some Harbinger buys. Oh, I guess what happened was that it really bottom decked the witch and even had the witch collide with the shop. But that's what you get for playing so recklessly, I guess. And then it drew the Harbinger dead. And already at this point, where it loaded up on Harbingers of all things, I think the game was going in our favor, but it was still kind of an annoyance to bring home. We had that one completely merged shuffle where nothing seemed to work out, and yeah, only came out on top in the last 2 shuffles, I guess. And you can build quite big here. You should build quite big here, but it's a hassle to get there. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this playthrough, even though the kingdom was so junky, and I will try to catch you in the next one. And until then, goodbye.